This is not going to be structured at all. This is probably going to end up failing, but regardless of the outcome, I'm going to upload it anyway. I am going to attempt to make a star material. I've already made a pretty good one, but I think I'm going to revise it, make it a little more realistic. Let me grab some reference images. This is a good one. Might want to work with that. Let's see. That's also a good one. Okay, let's do this. We have our work cut out for us, don't we? Alright, so first I'm going to make a surface texture, so let's do this. Apply scale. Alright. Oh, we don't want that. Also, needless to say, this is going to be all procedural. So, yeah. Let's do this. Let's bring on the pain. So, texture coordinate, and then going to dress with a Musgrave. Let's look at our reference. Okay. Okay. Looks like we're going to want rigid. Turn out dimension. Turn up the gain. Turn up the detail. Turn down the scale. This up a little bit. So let's just set this to regular multifractal. Excuse me. So I'm going to add a little bit of noise distortion. And what that is basically adding some noise texture to the UV to distort it. This is a common theme in my videos, but for newcomers here, first of all, welcome. But yeah. Now, this is not really meant to be a tutorial, but it can be treated as such. Really, it's just kind of walking you through the process of how I make this without really giving regard to all the fine details. That being said, you can probably still take some things away, and I will attempt to make that possible. Nice. Let's turn dimension up. See with multiply. Let's turn the roughness here down. Alrighty. Not sure if that looks super good, but it's there. Next thing I want to do converter. Actually, let's set a frame reroute. I'll just make things a bit nicer, and then color. Let's do convert vector math, that's what we're looking for, and I'm going to use this normalize. Picture what that's going to do is if we plug this into the volume, you can see it. It's actually just going to cycles GPU. You see that it just the distance from the center does not change the UVs. So that's going to be pretty handy. I'm going to make this noise texture 4D. That way we can animate the W. Let's plug this back into the surface. Let's make this into an actual emission node. And give it some actual color. There we go. Let's change this world to black. Let's see. What do we want to do? Looking at that, it looks like it's a little bit less harsh. So let's change this down to like about that. Let's change this detail down drastically. Change this up. It's a little more like it. Let's also squish it down so we can use a vector mapping. Just squish it down a bit. Right? That's sort of what it looks like. That down to 0. Okay. That's an acceptable surface texture. Obviously a bit stylized. Let's see. Might want to make it even more saturated. I'm going to say that's it. A bit brighter. Okay. Not too shabby. Last thing we might want to do is to add in, well, we're going to want to add in a value here. Control the W. Let's go down to Material Preview. One thing I wish Blender would have would be an animation thing right here, because it's a pain to add it every time. But what can you do? So at frame 1, it's going to be 0. So we insert a keyframe in there. Then the graph editor, we do make sure this is selected. I'm going to add a Modifier Generator. And then this is basically the function. So we go 0.01 there. Let's go back to the timeline. That's that. Let's go back in the graph editor. Change this down like 0.001 something. Then I'm going to do Control G here so that we can use this in other places. You can actually add just a convert math multiply, or just to further change the speed. So let's see this now. Let's go back into the timeline. Yeah, it's a little fast, but let's try this. Yeah, that's more like it. Okay. Nice. Alright, so what I'm going to do here in this last multiply, well, actually I'm going to duplicate that. I'm just going to add in a texture, Voronoi texture. And let's preview this. Let's change up the scale significantly. What this does is, let's flip it about a bit, and then add a power node. Not that harsh, like 3 should do it. I change to smooth F1. This like 500. Super small. There we go. And then multiply by that. Let's check this out. Let's change this to a color mix RGB. That way we can control this factor. Yep. Like that a little better. Let's change the smoothness down. To ease. Just play around with this. I'm just guessing here. But yeah, it adds a little bit of bubbliness, I found. Okay, so let's add some displacement here. So vector displacement is set the mid-level to 1, scale to be quite small. Then I'm going to duplicate this Musgrave here. I'm going to change the dimension up significantly. That's a bit much. And then convert color ramp. Let's first multiply this to actually, yeah, no, we're good there. Okay. And let's plug that into there, plug into displacement. And then in the material tab, we can, under settings, enable displacement to be displacement only. Let's change the scale up. You can see that's quite harsh. That's still a bit much. Yeah, output 1 works pretty well. What you might want to do on your mesh here is add a little bit more subdivisions. That way it's sufficiently high poly. But since it's not being shaded, it's not being lit really. It is the light. It's not going to cause many issues. So that's that. Here's what it looks with. This is what it looks like without displacement, and this is with. So nice. Let's see if there's anything else we can do. Let's check our reference. Okay. His sun is very, very, very red. Might want to add a little bit more like that. Okay. There we go. Let's render this. Not bad. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to take this node tree and I am going to make it into a group. And I'm not going to take any displacement stuff, just the actual coloring bit. Actually, we only really need this musgrave texture right here. So you know what, this might be a better one. Yeah, this will be a better one. So take this and everything connected to it back to the normalize node. And then I'm going to Control Shift D here. Actually, yeah. I'll just Control G. So I'm going to call this, first you name our outputs. So this is going to be out spec. This will be noise. It will be distortion actually. Yeah. Vector, that's accurate. And then text. This is going to be noise. Looking good. Okay. So, we've got that done. Now let's see what else we need to do. We've got like an atmosphere to do, and then we got some solar flares. Okay. So solar flares, let's work on that. So let's hide this, and let's add in, actually, we don't need to hide this. Just duplicate it. Hide this, I'm going to call this surface. This is going to be flares. I'm going to duplicate this material. So, let's actually add an input RGB. And this is going to be color. And then we can just kill all of this. You do not need it. And then we can also, we don't need that much geometry. So I'm going to decimate this. That's probably good. Let's go back to material. Let's put the color node group into here. That's not really going to change anything. It just, what it does is it means we can have one, we can change one value and it'll change the rest. So yeah, it's faster than drivers, so that's always a plus. Okay, so let's make flares. Let's look up solar flare. Actually, let's do sun magnetic field. Alright, this is like a stylized drawing, right? And it's not really what we're looking for, but it sort of is. Sun pulls charged particles along its magnetic field lines, so yeah. These look super cool, and they're basically just big arches, so how do we do those? It's the question, and I am here to answer it. So let's do the Saturn Converter vector math. We want these to sort of wrap around, right? So let's, this is vector math, we're going to want to use the length here. And we are going to be using noise texture. So let's see. We might need 4D noise for this. I think we will. So let's plug this into value. We're going to use volumes here. So that's on a converter color ramp, and B-spline we want constant. There we go. Okay, so might actually not. Let's try this. So what we want to do is we want to make it wrap around a certain axis, and what we're going to use for that is we are going to use a gradient texture and then radial. let's change, let's plug this. Well, actually, we're going to want a converter. Combine XYZ, so combine the channels. Put this in a Y channel. I'm going to do another, well, I'm going to do a separate XYZ this time. Also coming out from the object output. Plug in Z to Z. Let's plug in this to X. So you don't need 40 noise after all, which is good. And then we can add in a vector mapping node and then change the scale here. So for Z, I'm going to set this to 0 for now. And boosh, we have that. Let's change Y a little bit. Not that much. And then X, definitely need to change this up a bit. Okay. And we're going to want to mask out a certain part of this, so let's first add a little bit of Z variation there. That's too much. So we're going to want to mask out a certain part of this, so I'm going to add in that color ramp. Then converter math, multiply by this color ramp. Yeah, and what that's going to do is it's going to eliminate all the ones inside. So let's okay, a little bit of thickness there. Maybe a little bit more. That's too much. Let's change the scale. Let's eliminate that so we don't have to see it. Let's go up here. What looks good? What looks bad? That looks good. Let's turn this down a little bit. Actually, it was pretty good where it was at. Not bad. Not bad. I've done worse. Alrighty. So let's see what we can do here. I'm going to add a little bit of distortion. Let's again add a reroute node before here. So let's do a color, mix RGB, add. Let's input texture, noise texture. So this is, you're going to want it to be like super not detailed. And then center it around 0 by adding a subtract mode here. Just default settings except for factors 1. Multiply. And the value. Connect them up like that. And boom, weird shape. So let's try and troubleshoot this. Alrighty. Let's move this a little bit back. Actually looks pretty good. And then just a little bit more variation. So we're going to be making a particle system out of these and just dropping them all over the map. So let's move this into its own collection. Call this flares. Oh, and we need to color them. I'm going to instead make this into an ease color ramp here. Let's add more detail there. Oh, not bad, not bad. Yeah, so you can change the amount of the Z that's going there. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by the distance to that axis there. So I'm going to duplicate this combined XYZ, plug the X and Y values into the X and Y values from separate, then converter vector math length. What this does, since it kills the Z value, it basically just makes a horizontal, or not horizontal, vertical, like tube like thing. So that's nice. And then just divide by this. And that makes these ends significantly brighter. I might want to even do, I'm going to do power 2. No, just going to leave it at 1. Yep, that works. And then add a shader emission, color into, or yeah, that into volume, and then you can add in your color node. Yeah, so there's that. Always nice. Okay. Not too shabby. I'm going to add in a color ramp here, and I'm going to set it to ease. That's just going to accentuate the effect that you're getting here. So that's cool. That looks pretty good. Yeah, so you can control like the fall off brightness, all that stuff there. That's that. Then I will get into some more stuff once we actually set up the particle system. So I'm going to move this to a particles collection, particle. So let's select our surface object, add a particle system. This is going to be here. Just leave it on the surface. We don't need this many particles. I don't know why we need this many particles. But, so let's first add in some big flares. Let's change it down to 25. And let's render it as a collection, and then particles, and go advanced, select rotation, and then go to normal. Let's see how this looks. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Let's change the scale up a little bit. These are, after all, big particles. And then we can select randomize phase. You know what I'm going to do with these? I'm going to hide this and unhide that. I'm going to just do color mix RGB and mix. I'm going to mix between a little bit of a less frequency noise texture. So let's add in, let's do this here, and then let's for our noise texture here, well, we can just do this. So we're going to add in a we're going to use particle info, and I'm just going to use random and multiply this by like 15. And then I'm going to duplicate these 4 nodes that we just placed and put them on the other noise textures right after that mapping node. Actually, we don't need this add. If we got the mapping node, just plug it directly into the location. And that'll be enough. Let's change that to 2. And then let's view what we've got here. Not bad. Not bad. Check our reference image. Yeah, I'm not too sad with that. That looks pretty good, actually. We might want to bury those ends down there a bit. Although, you know, I think we should do is instead just turn the mid-level down. that also will solve another problem, being that we only want those bright spots to really appear where there are bright spots on the mesh. So that's good. So what you can do with these flares is you can animate them basically just by taking this Z input to this combine XYZ and then adding a converter math and then input value, not value, no, we're going to need to use group, and I'm use this, going to be timer to do that. Multiply this by like 100. I'm just going to preview this noise. Let's go into material preview. What's going on here? Let's take away the volume. So let's go into this noise texture. Come on. Why is you not loading properly? For some reason it's being weird and it's not updating real time, but you can see it'll animate. And then you can also do that with this, which is great. Damn, I wish it would do that. It's impossible to tell what's a good animation speed for those things. Now, if you really wanted to, step it up, you could do 40 and just animate that W. That would be cool. Let's do that. Let's go to timer. So that's that. Those are some flares. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this again. This time I'm going to take a group and use, nope, we don't want that, we need converter, oh no, group, noise. This is why we created the group, by the way. And then we're going to duplicate this, bring it over there, and then use location. And that's going to be our multiplier. It'll probably not show up there, just don't worry about it. So that's just going to make it a little bit brighter if it lands on one of the bright spots. So let's add a new particle system. Here again, 250 is probably what we're going to use for this one. This will be smaller, and this will be particles. Oh, it's freezing up on me. Let's go particles. Let's delete this. Just let it do its thing. Let's hide that. So yeah, messing about with it. It's gonna take a little while for it to get right, but you know, so is life. What we could do, this is a bit of an advanced technique. Let's kill the displacement here. It's not really necessary, and let's also kill that. See what we're working with. Here's 750 of these. Little buggers. And then what you can do is then you multiply them by this texture output. You increase this to 25%. Does that work? Let's try it with my own too. Oh, I know why. Add in some rotation. And then, is that normal? Mess with the phase. Always good fun. Hmm. Let's increase the distortion on these flares a little bit. Let's change this to like 1. And, oh, I know what we need to do. We need to also multiply this. We need to keep those ends down. So, I'm going to multiply this by, I generally like to use, well, we're going to need to separate x by z. Take the z output, color ramp, flip it, oh, and add an absolute node. That is, you can see sort of what's happening here. I'm going to use ease there, and then just do that. And yeah, that's that. It starts off normal, then it ends normal, but it goes wavy, which is I'm a fan of that. That looks pretty cool. Wish you could animate it though. Oh, I mean, I wish you could see the animation. You can animate it. For some reason, it's glitching out in me and it's doing some weird stuff. So yeah, you can't really see the animation. Let's try and render this out. It's looking pretty spicy. Still not all that great. How to do. Well, we should soften it in the compositing tab. Up here in the render result by adding like glare. Oh dear Jesus. Yeah, maybe not. Let's instead add an atmosphere and see if that helps work the magic. Okay. Let's also look, we might want to up the setting here. And then under this, let's see, I'm going to instead do geometry output and literally just put in position there. I don't really see why not. And converter math. Oh, not that. We need this out of that. And then this is going to be power. Just that up to like 5. Since it's smooth, it'll be, well, it'll be smooth, right? And it'll also help us control, still control where everything's going. I'm wondering if it would be more beneficial to us to use in the Material tab volume and just add in a crud ton of absorption. Volume absorption, no, that's, we need shader volume absorption, and then converter map. No, let's disable these and this, and then shader, add shader, and add in this absorption. Change this density, multiply this by crud ton. And change the step rate. Nice. Looks like that's rendering pretty fast. What if we turn on particles? Still fast or nah? Okay. So what I just did there is I made it volumetric. I'm trying to make the transition between the different the sort of flares and the atmosphere, and not atmosphere, surface a little bit smoother. I'm thinking that's probably not the best idea though. So let's just go with regular mission. That's super bright. That's better. The effect is minuscule otherwise, and it's just so the surface is just so much faster to render here. Okay, so this is an interesting material. Starting to look, I mean, I like it's getting there. There, that's smoother. Significantly so. Much better. Much better. Okay, so let's add an atmosphere of sorts. Let's duplicate the surface. Kill the particles. And the subsurface. And duplicate the material. And I'm going to just add in our group, our noise group. So let's add a vector displacement. This is just going to push it out a bit so we can use it effectively. And it's not being cut off by the surface. So it's probably a good size. We do not need this step rate to be so ridiculously low. So let's converter math, power. So there's that. Let's add in a tech or shader emission. And group color. This is going to volume. And then we're going to add in a texture, or no, sorry, we're going to do converter vector math length, subtract. I mean, this is a similar process to what I use in my planet atmospheres. I have tutorials on those if you didn't know already. Basically making an exponential gradient here. Nice. So there's that. Let's multiply this by a decent amount. There's that. And then we'll probably need a little bit of noise breakup. So I'm going to just take this outback thing and add in a texture, a noise texture. And then just multiply by that, I presume. Oh, wouldn't that make perfect sense? Let's take this normalize out. Yeah, we didn't really need it anyways. So what's outback? Let's put in the noise texture from outback. And we should also probably maybe it would be cool to add a normalized one. Let's make this surface one normalized. There we go. Same for that. Alrighty. That looks sort of acceptable. let's change to 4D, and 4D we're going to use this vector, math, and length. And then I'm going to multiply it by some stuff. That's pretty cool. Tell me what you think, guys. I don't think this is too shabby. I'm quite happy with it. Let's render this out real quick. Let's see how long it takes to render. Oh, and we got some speckling, unfortunately, looks like. Yeah, it was bound to happen. Actually, I think we can just like literally just increase the volume domain and it'll be fine. Nice thing is that this takes a lot less time to render than one of my other tests. So, experiment with this to your liking. It's kind of fun to play with. Oh dear, what's going on? Oh my. Let's increase. Let's go this here. Skill's just gonna be 1 because, you know, why not? And then on the surface, let's put in our particle system. Let's see if they clash. I think we're good. And by the way, you don't need 128 samples. I'm just going to use 16. And don't need to mess with light paths or volumes or whatever. So yeah, now you're going to need to probably tweak the animation properties a little bit. Just like this, the relative speeds and stuff. Yeah, it's still there. Still there. That's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. Let's just... If you want to get rid of those weird things that are like infinitely bright, they like never go away. They're a pain. You can use the despeckle node. Yes, despeckle node, but I just prefer to use mix RGBs and then I divide by, or yeah, divide by like 10 or 100. And then clamp. And then multiply by 100. And take away the clamp. That'll clamp it down for you. Then also you can put the despeckle node on there. Filter, despeckle. Oh, I guess that worked actually really well. Better than I was expecting. Kind of killed some of that stuff though. Or you know what I'm gonna do? Take widths, divide, take away that, multiply by input, converter math, less than, and type in like 1,000. That works. So there we go. Mess with the animation settings. I didn't really touch on those too much, but they're there, and if you want to animate it, your values are probably pretty whack, just being honest here. Other than that, that's pretty much all I have to say. If this is your first time getting to the channel, I'll give you my spiel about my Discord server and all the stuff that's on there. It's quite fun. Come join us, come hang out. I answer questions there. You can ask for help. Whatever. It's chill. Secondly, I'm trying to get a Patreon up and running. That way you can have access to blend files and such. Right now I'm not putting any blend files up because I simply don't think that you learn anything from just downloading a blend file, and odds are if I put the blend file up, you're gonna just download it and the tutorial won't be watched and skills won't be gained. Then again, I was not very coherent throughout this entire tutorial, but hopefully even just copying what I'm doing made you learn something. That being said, I understand some people just need an assets and they need to work quickly. So I will put that up. I've been saying I'm going to put it up for like a month, but or like 3 months. But actually, I will do that. But yeah, that's it for this one, guys. Hope you learned something and have a great day.